Hey everyone, so today I'm going to go over the maintenance schedule and my cost of ownership for my Dodge Viper. I'm doing this to help educate potential future Viper owners and show them that contrary to what a lot of people say and believe, this car is not expensive to own and maintain, especially compared to some of the exotic cars from Japan or Europe. This is relatively inexpensive. Before I get started, all of the information from this video came from my factory service manual. I also checked this manual against the owner's manual. The information is exactly the same. This service manual goes into it in a little bit more depth. I touch on some of this information in some of my other videos, but I'm going to condense it here. I'm not going to go over the cost of all the fluids, but I'm just going to go over what it requires very quickly. The engine oil takes 10 quarts of 1030 full synthetic. So an oil change for this car is probably in the area about $70, give or take, depending on where you get your fluids and filters from. The transmission takes 4 quarts of 75/85 gear oil. It originally came with Castrol Syntorq. It's no longer available, so you have to run a GL4 equivalent. Do not run ATF in this car. The differential takes about 2 quarts of 75/140 gear oil, synthetic, with 4 ounces of friction modifier. The cooling system takes 13 quarts, which is about a little more than 3 gallons of green engine coolant. Power steering takes 21 ounces of power steering fluid, not ATF. Do not put ATF, automatic transmission fluid, anywhere in this car at all. It doesn't call for it anywhere. The brake fluid and the clutch fluid take .4 or .3. The caps say .3, but the service manual says .4. In the service manual, it says .4 is recommended, but .3 is an acceptable alternative that you can also run. So if you run .3 in this car, per the Chrysler service manual, that's okay. And then as far as the maintenance schedule for this car, there's 2 schedules. There's the A schedule, which is normal driving conditions, and there's the B schedule, which is severe duty. Severe duty consisting of excessive idling, a lot of stop-and-go traffic, or if you're racing the car. I will show at the end of the video, I'll show the service manual just so everyone can see the schedule, so if they want to take a look at it themselves, as well as the fluid recommendations. Just to go over it real briefly, oil is every 7,500 miles or 6 months. The differential fluid is 22,500 miles or 18 months. The cooling system is 36 months. There's no recommended mileage from the factory. Air filter and spark plugs are to be changed, as well as regreasing the ball joints every 30,000 miles or 24 months. Spark plug cables, as well as the belt tensioner for the serpentine belt, is 60,000 miles or 48 months. All the other fluids, there is no recommended intervals. I'd recommend doing them probably every few years. Again, they're not expensive, especially the brake and the clutch fluid. They will start to attract moisture and they will become discolored, so probably no more than 2 years for that stuff. It's very cheap and simple to replace yourself. I've done all these fluids myself. They're relatively easy. And then as far as the B schedule for the maintenance, it's basically the same as the A schedule, with the exception being there's no time frame, and the mileage is about cut in half. So the oil changes like every 3,000 miles. So, and then as far as my ownership cost, now full disclosure, I bought my car in 2012. It had about 3,500 miles on it. I have under 6,000 on it now, so I don't drive my car very much compared to a lot of other Viper owners. But your ownership costs can obviously vary quite a bit depending on the vehicle condition, how often, and how you drive the car, if you're aggressive or you race it. As well as a lot of the other factors that can vary are your state taxes, your registration fees, as well as your insurance, depending on the type of policy you have, as well as your driving history. I have a collector policy on my car, so I'm allowed to drive it no more than 5,000 miles a year, which is fine. I do probably about 500 miles a year, give or take. But it only costs me about $650 a year to insure the car. So it's relatively cheap compared to if I had it on my regular insurance policy. It would probably be almost $2,000. So in the last 5 years of me owning this car, I've had to put $720 in repairs in this car in 5 years. Now, some of these items I did not have to do. They were cosmetic-only items. But I like to keep my car in pristine condition, and I like to keep it factory correct. So, again, that's your personal preference depending on how you like to keep your car and if you modify it. My car isn't modified other than a catback exhaust system. In the last 5 years, I replaced the power steering pump, the pulley crack. That was $15. The valve cover was $200. That had bubbling on it. I went over that. That's a common Viper issue in my issues and problems video. I replaced the map sensor to address the little bit of Viper idle hang I had with the car. The brake reservoir cap started to leak a little bit, so I replaced that. That was $10. The door hinge was starting, it felt a little weird, but once I got it off, it really wasn't that bad. I tried lubricating it, but it wasn't as crisp as I wanted it to be. That was $180 to replace it. The sway bar links on this car are kind of known for the boots start to get brittle and fall apart over time. I just replaced mine. They were $80 to replace all 4 of them. The window switches started to get a little finicky. I had to hit them twice sometimes to get the window to go down. Those were $40 to replace. The battery was $80. I did that last year. That wasn't a big deal. And one of the ABS sensors, because I have an ABS car, went bad. That was $65 to replace that. So, again, if you can't do this yourself, it's obviously going to be a lot more expensive due to the labor costs. I, fortunately, am able to do all the maintenance on the car myself, so there is no labor costs incurred. So, again, $720 in 5 years of owning this car. Some of these big items like the valve cover and the door hinge I really didn't have to do. I like to keep the car very pristine, so I did them. So what you're talking about to keep the car in really good condition on a low mileage car was a little more than, you're probably talking about $125 a year, give or take. It cost me maybe a little bit more. So overall, it's really not too bad. So compared to what you'd pay for a lot of other exotic cars, this is relatively inexpensive to own this car. Obviously, this can vary quite a bit depending on how you drive your car and how you like to keep your car. So, but this gives a pretty good insight to what most Viper owners, I feel, are going to encounter. These are some things that are kind of known for having issues with this car. But I hope this video was very informative. And also, I want to show everybody the actual service manual itself. I'll show the full schedule. So that's the A schedule. Here's the B schedule. Again, this is if you're racing the car or it's under severe duty conditions. So, and here are all the fluid recommendations. So again, I hope this video was very informative. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.